The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Tuesday, the 26th day of August, 2025. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindos, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we are able to pump through the radio airwaves on Hot 107.5 with these most important community conversations. I'm Jamal Hartman, and Maya Palacio will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in the news break brought to you by People's. Happy Tuesday to you all. How's everyone feeling today? Hopefully you got off to a fantastic traditional work week yesterday, and you are excited to get day number 2 going. Yeah. Anyway, folks, greetings everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine, a good one today. As we welcome Philip Rogers on from the Bermuda Weather Service, we're going to be discussing the evolving climate, among other things. The Daily Play is a Remember When today, so a bit of history. Maybe it has something to do with the climate, hint, hint. Don't forget to subscribe on our website, follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, folks, so we've got some things to discuss. And those things that we have to discuss are, put the questions up of the morning. What are your thoughts on public inquests into sudden deaths in Bermuda? And should public inquests be mandatory across the board? Well, if you don't know why we're asking this, props to Sam Strangeways over at the Royal Gazette. Sam Strangeways, she done a story, and the title says, "Lack of inquests play into culture of silence." Think about that, culture of silence. What are we always talking about when something serious, crime-related happens in our community? We speak about silence in our culture, right? And I want to touch on a few things. So, over the past 10 years, and again, credit to the journalists and people who keep the pressure on with these things, because we need to be talking about this stuff. And the reason we need to talk about this stuff, because unfortunately, we live in a society and in a time where we honestly don't seem to care, or don't have the time, or overwhelmed with other things, as a friend told me, until it hits us personally. But let's just speak numbers. Over the past 10 years in Bermuda, only 4 public inquests have been held, despite 981 sudden deaths being reported to the coroner. So according to this article, that means just 0.4% of such cases go to an inquest. Now, in contrast, in England and Wales, around 21% of reported deaths result in a public inquest. Now, that's a striking gap. And we have to ask ourselves, is Bermuda doing enough to investigate unexpected deaths transparently? Right? It's been said that Bermuda's courts face space constraints, right? Especially after losing access to 2 Supreme Courts. And the need for 6 to 9 months to set up an inquest. That delay, these delays raise more concerns, right? What does that mean for grieving families who are longing for closure? And what can we do to modernize this process to help us? I mentioned that, one of the questions is, should public inquests be mandatory? Should they be mandatory? Because legally, inquests in Bermuda are only required by statute in limited cases, like deaths in custody, like in prison or something, in custody, or at mental health institutions. In other instances, coroners use discretion and may opt for file reviews instead. But in contrast, systems like in England mandate more frequent public inquests and even require coroners to issue preventative recommendations. Journalists mentioned that inquests were so common in the 1980s and 90s. They were served like as fact-finding forms that sometimes produce safety recommendations. Nowadays, they're rare, raising concerns about whether Bermuda is moving away from a culture of accountability. This, folks, we speak about all the time that in such a small community, we have antisocial behavior. We have, in recent cases, people walking free, though charged and prosecuted with serious crimes. We have people, how many unsolved murders or shooting incidents? Culture of accountability or lack thereof. And one of the, saddest parts about the inquest situation, as someone, a family member in this article by Sam Strangeway said, we live in a society, I believe it was Keith Lowe said, we live in a society that complains in corners, but freezes at the thought of invoking systemic change. Think about that. Think about that. So the question again, audience, what are your thoughts on public inquests into sudden deaths in Bermuda? And should public inquests be mandatory across the board? We've got Dr. Anthony Richardson says public inquests are informative, but also very costly. We need a dedicated magistrate and facilities. Still, money needs to be allocated, money that the government doesn't have. Well, there were quite a few comments in there from former judge, I believe it was Austin Warner, who had a lot to say regarding that. And I just want to find his comments, but you're absolutely right. But how do we, this can go, I would love to hear the government's response to this. I would love to hear the government's response to this. I'm trying to find, so Mr. Warner, he's no longer there, but he became a senior magistrate and coroner soon after the 1999 amendment. And he decided in 2007 to limit the number of public inquests, no longer holding them into deaths that were not contentious or did not involve public interest issues. He said, we used to have a number of inquests in magistrates' court, which took up enormous amounts of time to the detriment of other cases, he said. It's quite an elaborate process to have an inquest. He said it made practical sense to deal with some sudden deaths without a full hearing, a view he shared with the Gazette in a 2013 interview. And again, I'm reading from the Royal Gazette, folks. He says, I still hold that view, he said. There's no doubt that the purpose of an inquest is to ensure some transparency, but there is not every case that merits a full hearing. There is in the system more than one way of getting to the bottom of what happened. So that's from former magistrate and coroner Archibald Warner. That's former magistrate Warner there. But that said, you've heard from him. Audience, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on public inquest in Bermuda? What are your thoughts on public inquest in Bermuda? And also, should public inquest be mandatory across the board? Should they be mandatory across the board? Let us know your thoughts. We've got Suzanne Ingham says, yes, an inquest must be done. No, Bermuda is not doing enough for its people in this area. There is no closure for grieving families. Yes, it must be made mandatory. Yes. Well, it's interesting you mentioned grieving families because public inquests could be harmful and helpful, according to Chris Gibbons, who spoke with the Royal Gazette. He basically, Mr. Gibbons, whose 25-year-old daughter, Jessica, died in 2016, said they could provide valuable information and closure for families and raise awareness about mental health. It's difficult to get people to talk about suicide. I can see that might help. However, I can imagine that they would be very emotionally distressing and intrusive for what is essentially a family tragedy. He added, there is a lot to commend the way it's done at the moment in terms of protecting families' privacy. So there's a privacy thing as well, right? There's a privacy thing. And Mr. Gibbons emphasized that he was speaking in a personal capacity and not on behalf of losing someone to suicide, the support group that he runs. But yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one, folks. But again, is it one of those things where, that comment that I read earlier stands out. The quote by a grieving family member, where she said in this article, quote, we live in a society that complains in corners but freezes at the thought of invoking systemic change, end quote. And she lost her daughter-in-law, according to this article. And her family won a near $2 million suit against the Bermuda Hospital Board due to her loss, due to negligence that was reported. So again, audience, the question of the morning, what are your thoughts on public inquest into sudden deaths in Bermuda? And should public inquest be mandatory across the board? Yes or no? Just a yes or no answer. Kajay Mathy says, maybe if we introduce private investigators, it could be beneficial for public inquest. Private investigators, meaning people would have to pay for them on their own, meaning not governments funded, correct? Just want to make sure I'm understanding. So that would mean that people would have to have the funds to pay for them. And I think that goes back to what Dr. Anthony Richardson said about it can be, very costly. It's such a tough balance. It's such a tough balance because it's crazy when things that we may all believe our community needs, it comes down to the dollar, right? That's tough. It's tough. Dr. Anthony Richardson says, we have a lot of laws and regulations that go unenforced because the government lacks the financial resources to hire people to enforce the law's regulations. It's the same thing for inquest, a lack of money. It's unfortunate. It's extremely unfortunate. I mean, does everyone in the audience understand the importance of inquests? Do we understand the correlation with other things in our community? Just a yes or no. Do you believe they should be mandatory? Only Suzanne Ingham has said yes. Kajay Matthews says maybe. But yes or no, because this is one of those things, again, where unless it hits you directly, if you lose someone suddenly, you probably don't even think about it. You probably don't even think about it, right? As regards to funding, Mia Chambray says, why not use the Gaming Commission budget and use it towards a commission for mandatory public inquests? Here's the thing, Mia. Here's the thing. Whenever I hear that government doesn't have money, that's fair. But I always wonder, what do we give money to at this current point in time that we can put elsewhere? Budgets are there to be adjusted, right? So if we don't have money in a space where we may need it, where can we take from? I'm going to use, I don't know how much the Ministry of Education gets off the top of my head, but if there are less children in the education system, has the money that we spend on it gone down or up? I don't know. That's a actually real question. But again, what are your thoughts, audience? What are your thoughts on public inquests into sudden deaths in Bermuda? Again, if you just tuned in, and should public inquests be mandatory across the board? If you just tuned in, we're talking about the story by Sam Strangeways in the Royal Gazette, where basically over the past 10 years in Bermuda, only 4 public inquests have been held, despite 981 sudden deaths. Now, that is a 0.4%. Yeah, that means just 0.4% have had public inquests. Yeah. And in comparison to England and Wales, where it's 21%, that's pretty damning. Now, there are quite a number of reasons why they haven't happened. Resources, as someone said. From a judge, magistrate, and coroner, Archibald Warner, it puts a strain on the courts, or it's not necessary to some. But are they necessary? Or does it create the culture that we currently have, which is moving away from a culture of accountability? We've got Michelle White says, speaking for the uninformed, I don't know what is involved in the inquest process. This is separate from autopsy to discover how someone died. Yes, all about money, yet $5 million on Southlands. Well, so you can go check the article. Obviously, this segment's too short, but it's usually for sudden deaths, right? And it's really to tell the story to the public about. So, for instance, we see a police report, right? And it says, body found such and such. Usually, once Maya or Teo or Simone come on and report and say, police have said no foul play suspected, the case goes away, right? But let's say that, well, no foul play suspected, but the person was just walking and the road collapsed in. Well, don't you think the public has a right to know that? You get what I'm saying? Like, that's a real example. That's not a real example, but that's something that could happen with this, right? So again, there were questions recently where the police announced a death. And then just this weekend, I believe they reported, and correct me if I'm wrong, audience, that there was no foul play suspected or something to that nature. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. And then it left people wondering, so what happened? They were commenting all over social media under the stories. I think public inquests give the public more understanding and comfort and security in knowing that their community is safe. Charles H. Jeffers II says, I agree with Mr. Gibbons. While I don't think we need to know about individual cases of suicide, I don't think we should have cumulative numbers to know how much of a problem this is in our community. Indeed, Charles. Indeed. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, you know what? I had the definition and I didn't even explain. Maya is absolutely correct. I probably should have began by explaining what a public what an inquest is. I actually probably should have done that. You know what they say about people who assume. Well, I can't use that language on the show. I'd get in trouble with Maya and Larry. But you know what they say about assuming. But I shouldn't have approached this and assumed that you all knew what it is. But as I mentioned earlier, public inquest, only 0.4% over the last 10 years of sudden deaths have received a public inquest. And they're basically hearings that the magistrate coroner and the jury investigate the circumstances of a death. All right. For some, it's to bring closure to families and the general public. There are certain factors that contribute to deaths that may be of public interest. So they're held to determine a few questions, and it's the who, what, when, where, and how. And the jury may make recommendations to prevent further deaths and improve public safety. So again, the example I use: someone walking, and they're found dead, right? They found the body, and if we never know, people may think it was just natural causes, right? Not knowing that the road fell in. That's in the interest of public safety. You know, there have been cases recently where the police have reported road fatality, or someone died in a car, and then they'll let you know whether or not the person had maybe a heart attack before the car struck something or not, like those kinds of things as well. Let's go through these final couple comments. This is your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure, folks. Richard Scott says, yes, but perhaps the results are by request only. This protects the integrity of the process. Yeah, fair enough. And Michael Daniel says, could inquest be done in stages, with the next stage being engaged when previous stage provides unexpected results? I think there's ways to look at this. It's delicate. It's very delicate. I think it's extremely delicate. I think it's something that we should be discussing. I don't know if they should be mandatory. I'm going to be honest. I think they need to be treated on a case-by-case basis. But after reading the story by Sam Strangeways, I'm pretty sure there's more cases that of public interest that should definitely be investigated. All right, let's pay some love to Titan Express and Secure for ensuring that we can have these discussions with you on a daily basis. And then we'll bring Maya Palacio in with the Daily Hour News Break.
The daily discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Visit TitanEXBDA.com, your leading tour and transport provider specializing in Black History tours throughout the island. And SecureBDA.com for all your property management, waste management, residential, and commercial trucking needs. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is our commitment to you.
All righty. Thanks again to Titan Express and Secure. And folks, if you haven't already and you're streaming with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter X, or Instagram, do us a big favor right now while we bring Maya Palacio in. Give us a like, love, follow, share the link with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Don't forget, we've got Philip Rogers from the Bermuda Weather Service coming up. We're talking about the evolving climate, folks. We are getting hurricane and tropical storm threats in August. We had, as Trevor Lindsay reported a couple times in June and July, the heat has been this summer. So we're going to have these conversations after the news break, but let's bring in Maya for the Daily Hour News Break.
Good morning. Good morning.
Greetings, MP. How are you?
No, what? Feeling pretty good this morning. Interesting conversation, very good report, and something I didn't even really know about or even think to consider that we had that option, to do as a community, as a public, to
Mhm.
press things forward even more. It's always good to know that there are other options versus just reporting or listening to reports or even contacting police. There's steps that we can even take further that we have in our rights. So that's really awesome to know.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. This is why I know people have been taught to hate the media and news in particular over the last few years. But I think this is why it's so important. Without certain reports, we just won't know a lot of things, right? And when things are brought to our attention, I think we should extend the conversation and try to get to spaces where we don't get to a space where we don't have any public inquest. And to the point, it's an excuse that we no longer have public inquest. This is something that should be an option to people who are interested. And although it may be costly, you know what? I always believe this. There will always be money for things that need to happen. I'm just saying, for things that need to happen.
I mean, we saw it.
Good.
As I was just thinking, like, even not even just money, but also legislation, right? Because we saw it during the pandemic as well, how quickly things were passed through and turned over, barely had to wait for things to be enacted. So, obviously that was emergency measures, but still things moved quickly.
Maya,
It's
they
always
passed
tough.
legislation for a sailboat race in Bermuda in 2017. They can pass legislation for anything
In a faster pace.
at a faster pace. We just need to be, as the public, again, as that inquest thing said, we need to find a way as a community to know how to hold one another accountable. Accountability is not hate, it's a love. All right. Let me not go off on a tangent.
All right, good morning, everyone. This is your daily hour news break brought to you by the good people at People's Pharmacy. Now, a true gift giver always buys something, no matter the occasion. And me personally, one of my favorite things to do is just to look at the card selection anytime I go into People's Pharmacy, just because, in case there's an occasion coming up, have it in my drawers, I have it. But if you're not like me and you're kind of a last minute shopper, that's fine too, because People's literally has everything you need, from beauties to cards to anything that you need on the go, because it truly is one of those just need to know just what I needed in the moment type stores. So head to People's for any occasion. Now, starting out your news break this morning, some news coming from the police that is very important for the community to be aware of. So the Bermuda Police Service has confirmed 2 arrests in connection with the murders of 23-year-old Detrey Eversley and 18-year-old Nakai Robinson, as well as the attempted murder of another young man. Now, the suspects, a 21-year-old and a 16-year-old, are now in custody following what police say was crucial information shared by the public. Now, Acting Detective Superintendent Jason Smith thanked the community, saying the release of suspect images led to a surge of calls that helped move the investigation forward. But while these arrests mark progress, the violence itself is devastating. 2 young lives cut short, another nearly lost, part of a wave of shootings that have left families shattered and neighborhoods shaken. And as the police said right here on this show just last week, Bermuda's shooters are becoming more accurate. That makes every incident deadlier and every community more vulnerable within Bermuda. So police stress the investigation is ongoing and no charges have been laid at this time. They continue to appeal for information from anyone who knows more, urging the public to reach out to Detective Chief Inspector Kenton Trott directly at 717-2345. You see it there on your screen as well. You can take a screenshot if you wish, and through the BPS Community Reporting Portal, or anonymously at the Crime Stoppers at 800-8477.
Yeah, I just want to say it's key for people to remember a couple things. We've seen this happen before. Murders where arrests have made and then, there's no charges. So keep in mind, as Jason Smith, I think Chief Inspector Jason Smith said, this is an ongoing investigation, as Maya repeated. They just have been arrested, not charged.
Yes.
So just keep that in mind as we go through this. But the public, the community, it's on us whether or not we want a safer community. So whether persons are charged, arrested, prosecuted, convicted, that really does fall back on us at a certain point. So we have to play our part. We have to have our eyes open. We have to be willing to, I'm just going to, this quote I'm probably going to say time and time again, but the quote from the article with Sam Strangeways, quote, "We live in a society that complains and corners but freezes at the thought of invoking systemic change." Part of systemic change literally is us holding our community accountable.
Yeah, I think, yep, you said it all right there. So, meanwhile, in your other news, Bermuda has made a few moves to deal with the digital world, like the Intimate Images Act and some attention on artificial intelligence. But while the online space is moving with immense speed, our responses here feel a bit slow, particularly in how social media is affecting our children. Recently, the premier hosted a chat intro session that brought together ministers, health experts, and educators to talk about exactly that, the influence of social media on young people. Now, he admitted as a parent himself, he's deeply worried about the violent content out there. He said, as a parent, I think about the world my children are growing up in. I'm extremely concerned about the inappropriate and often violent content in the online spaces, the constant need for approval that social media breeds, and the impact that this can have on the young person's mental health. Now, Minister Kim Wilson also added that these pressures are feeding real problems, anxiety, depression, and isolation. And she says the government is committed to offering more support. Now, there is someone who was there at the session that I also got to speak with, and that person would be Riche Pascal, the council team leader from the Family Center. And she told me the government got some valuable insight hearing directly from people who work with the kids every day. Now, she went on to say that one concrete step that was mentioned was bringing back the Cyber Tips Initiative, which should help parents and guardians with practical ways to keep their children safe online. Overall, she said it was a great experience and she looks forward to the following up meeting. But here's the bigger question. Is this enough? Because other countries are already moving fast. Australia itself is going as far as banning kids under 16 from using social media altogether by next year. The platforms like Instagram and TikTok will have to block underage users or face massive fines. Here's
Oops, not sure what happened with Maya. That she should be back with the story. And I'll say this much. As she was speaking just now, here she is. Maya, we lost you.
Yeah, apologies there. But here's a quick interview from the Prime Minister of Australia talking a bit about what they have done with this legislation.
I've met with parents who've lost and buried their child. It's devastating. We can't, as a government, hear those messages from parents and say it's too hard. We have a responsibility to act.
So they've done things up there. In the Netherlands as well, the government has advised kids under 15 to stay off social media. It's not a law, but they really pressed it and saying that it causes depression, panic attacks and poor sleep. And now, because we often look to the UK and see what their laws are under being the British territories and citizenship. So here's what they have. They have a UK Online Safety Act, which forces platforms to shield kids from harmful content and requires age checks with fines that can reach into the millions if companies don't comply. Now, this conversation is not new, especially to this channel. We've brought it here to you guys before. So again, while people are talking about it here in Bermuda, others have already had legislation built in. I've covered how AI and social media pressures are tied to rising anxiety in students, bringing in psychologists and counselors right here on this show. And they often say the same thing, that these tools are shaping kids' lives faster than we're keeping up with them. But when it comes to government legislating the concerns of the people, and this might tie into our conversation earlier today, the question at play is also, should we be waiting on government to legislate every part of this? Or do parents and communities need to step up more? Because at the end of the day, laws can only do so much. The choices we make and the boundaries we set are ultimately our own.
I don't think we need more laws and legislation, personally. I don't need to see it. Like Florida, as well. We've spoken about it on this show, and you spoke about this before. their social media law, I believe, came into effect last year or this year, known as the HB3, restricts access to social media for minors under 16 by prohibiting accounts for children under 14. What I find interesting about states like Florida and most conservative states is, they run on this thing about freedom and free, and there's no such thing as freedom and free. It really isn't. I think the challenge I have with laws is I'm a believer that an educated community doesn't need the rule of law to tell it how to live. I think a responsible and accountable community doesn't need the rule of law to tell it how to live. The challenge with that, as you can see in our current community, we lack an educated, accountable community. And I'm not speaking about educated like you went to school and got a degree. Simple things like speaking to children about it. I don't want young people on social media because, again, they live these comparison lives. They have to live up to things. Again, one of our former co-hosts on the Daily Hour said, their daughter told them if their friends don't get a certain amount of likes on social media, then they delete the post. Like, it's crazy to me. It's not real life. And I know that sounds silly to say, but it really isn't. There are, we spoke about this, Teo and I, on Friday. And someone asked on Twitter, who would you consider a Bermuda influencer? And I said, well, I think Bermuda only has one local influencer, and that person isn't trying to be an influencer. They're not posting because they're modeling or something. They're posting for entertainment, and that's Mr. Photogenic. He literally is the only one that posts for entertainment, not for likes or love or for you to want to be them. And I think when we live in an era where people are posting on social media because they need validation, they're looking for some form of validation, not because it's helpful to someone, not because they can teach someone or learn from somebody. And we're talking about grown adults, and children see that, right? And so I think children need to be protected, but it's going to take, if anything, a lot of adults need some mental therapy to deal with their social media addiction. I said it. There you go.
It's a lot that goes into it. I won't even start to roll this ball because it can just go on forever. But I will say, yeah, indeed, there are a lot of boundaries that need to be set. There's still so much we don't know about these devices, about what it's doing and affecting us mentally. They're starting to finally kind of see some similarities between having the social media and the anxiety that correlates with young people. And yeah, it is something that is addictive, and it should be treated like any addiction. So there are things that need to be put in place.
You know what, Maya, when I first got on social media, when Facebook, first started, it was about, you had to have a college email, right? It was for college students. When I first got on social media, it was really about staying connected with people I met in college. That's what it was used for. It wasn't about trying to show how great I'm living. It was like, hey, the easier way to communicate than email. And then now I just read something on LinkedIn on the weekend that's like, social media is no longer Meta is no longer for staying connected with people. It's about selling something or showing off something. That's crazy to me. But again, they're only doing what the consumer's doing. They're only feeding into that.
Yeah. There's been so many shifts that you could even say within different generations about how we, quote unquote, present ourselves. I was talking about it to a friend recently, how when there was no phones, how did people fake who they were by, I don't know, spending money that they didn't have to showcase something that they're not, versus now online, we can easily alter our lives to make it look like it's something that it's not. It's not exactly, it relates to the conversation of just like how far we go if we had the opportunity to pretend to be somebody else. And now in this generation, it's so much easier to do that. And that's something that and we're so willing to do that in most cases.
I want to ask the audience real quickly before you go to your next story. Audience, well, you can go to your next story, but audience, what do you think? Do you think that we should enforce a law for young people when it comes to social media? Do you think 16 and under should be banned from social media? Personally, I don't. I just think we need more responsible parenting and education. And also, I think if we need anyone banned, we need older people over their 40s that are trying to maintain some level of popularity or relevance. That's what I think they need to help, not the young people. Before the young people. But anyway, do you think that we should outlaw social media for children. What are your thoughts? Let us know. Go ahead, man. Sorry.
All right, let's move on to some sports-related content here. So the Junior Pan Games definitely did finish, and it's all wrapped up. And here's a quick statement from the chef de mission, David Thomas, in regards to how it ended and how it's looking for Bermuda. Here you go.
All of our athletes represented Bermuda with grit, determination, and pride, and it truly was an honor to see them compete. And a special shout out to all of our medal-winning athletes. Jack Harvey with the bronze in 100-meter backstroke, Sebastian Kemp with the silver in sailing, and Caitlin Bob, the silver in 400 meters.
All righty. All right. Maya is out again. Folks, we'll bring her back. All right. Let's get the news break, Maya.
Don't know why everything's closing up for me, guys, but here's the last one for you right now because you know this is coming up soon. So make sure it's on your calendar and make sure you also have your tickets. Bermuda's football history is on the line. The men's national team is just one step away from qualifying for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And the final round begins right here at home. So on September the 5th, on a Friday, Bermuda face Jamaica at the Dame Flora Duffy Southfield National Sports Center, kickoff at 7 p.m. Now, this is a momentous moment. Never before has Bermuda men's team been this close to the world's biggest football stage, and they'll need more than skill on the pitch. They'll need you guys in the crowd. So fans are being urged to secure your tickets fast before they sell out and turn that stadium into a sea of pink and blue. So you get your tickets at GPass as well.
All right. We'll have Coach Finley coming up next week. What's the weather looking like today, Maya?
Weather's looking like partly cloudy and a high of 87 degrees. So it's looking like humidity, but I'm sure our guests will tell us more.
You know, I think we had this day already this year, but apparently they deserve more than one. But in the U.S., it's National Dog Day. So, audience, I'm going to ask you, are you a dog lover? I wasn't, and then Bella came along.
And now you're dog obsessed.
Yeah, I am. But I was banned from my family from bringing her any more toys. They banned me from bringing her any more toys. Say she's got too many, and she's got like toy boxes floating out, and she's got toys all around the house. So I can't bring any more toys, which is interrupting. So I'm going to have to just gather some treats.
There you go. Treats are always great.
Obviously, you're a dog lover, right, Maya?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Love dogs. I love a Whippet, Jack Russell, and a German Shepherd. Those are my top three. Favorable to every dog, but you know.
What's the first one you said?
A Whippet.
What's a Whippet?
The kind of narrow and really thin and long. Like they look like you can just pick them up like a hot dog, honestly. But unlike the wiener dogs that are short, they have long legs. And you probably see them do the dog races. They're the ones who like run those dog races. Yeah, Whippet.
Oh, so they're working dogs. Well, Jack Russells are very intelligent. Yeah, I like them. They're very smart dogs, right? I like a smart dog. German Shepherds, I just wish they live longer.
Yeah. The bigger dogs, large dogs always have a shorter lifespan than the small ones, unfortunately.
On Nicole, she says, loves dogs, favorite breed is a Rottweiler. So she loves big dogs. Okay.
The sweethearts.
They are beautiful. Yeah. Well, Maya, you have a wonderful day. We've got our guests coming up. We've got Philip Rogers. We're talking about the climate. Hurricanes are coming earlier. We had a brutal early summer. So looking forward to learning more about how our climate is evolving on us.
All right.
All right. Talk soon. All right.
Talk soon.
My pleasure, folks. All right, folks, don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back after this short break, and we've got Philip Rogers from the Bermuda Weather Service joining us to talk about the evolving climate. And I think you want to hear this because the hurricanes are coming earlier. The heat seems a bit more extreme. Stick with us. In the meantime, give us a like, love, follow, and share the link with your friends, family, and colleagues.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
Ready to take your financial game to the next level? HSBC is here to help you power up your financial fitness. Your strategy should be sharp and ready for anything because luck won't get you to the top. Whether securing your future, growing wealth, or planning for life's next serve, HSBC's experts are here for you. From budgeting to investing, let's craft a plan as unique as your goals. Plus, get free financial planning consultations to stay on track. Learn more at hsbc.bm/financial planning. HSBC Bank Bermuda is licensed to conduct banking and investment business by the Bermuda Monetary Authority.
Get ready for the cool Bermuda nights ahead. A CI-AC mini split AC unit from BAC Group is the perfect solution, keeping you warm this winter and cool all summer long. While supplies last, you can get a unit starting at just $913.50. Plus, receive an extra 10% off when you pay with cash or credit card account. BAC Group, comfort for every season.
Take a look at our workwear for construction workers and tradesmen. Durable, stretchable in all the right places, and plenty of options for tools and accessories. Pair with our wide range of tough and comfortable footwear, you can't go wrong. As you can see, Medical House really is a one-stop shop for everybody. We can't wait to see you.
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Discover Drop It, your go-to grocery delivery. Browse and select from a wide range of groceries, from fresh produce to daily essentials. Our friendly drivers deliver fresh groceries to your door fast, saving you time and hassle. With Drop It, you get fresh groceries delivered fast so you can focus on what really matters. Drop It, freshness at your doorstep, delivered to your door with Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Alrighty, welcome back to the Big Show. Jamal Hartman here. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindo's, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. Folks, please don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Folks, without further ado, and I'll get to some of the comments that we've missed throughout the show at the end, because some of you have said some things that we really need to share. But without further ado, let's give a warm TDH welcome to our special guest for the day. We have Philip Rogers, the director at the Bermuda Weather Service. Let's give him a warm TDH welcome. Greetings, sir. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
We're wonderful. We're wonderful. Before we get into anything, I got to ask you, are you a dog person?
I've had a dog, but not recently.
Okay.
Yeah.
See,
half dog, half
dogs is I don't have to own them to love them. So, I just, love on everyone else's. So Bella's not my dog. She's a family dog. So I just get her a treat. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for making time for us today. For those who may not know, just share a bit about your background, who you are and what it is that you do.
I'm the director of the Bermuda Weather Service. I've only been in Bermuda 4 months now, seen the summer, seen some storms so far. I've been in meteorology now for over 30 years. I come originally from Canada, but I've traveled around the world recently, spent a fair amount of time in the Middle East, tropical areas of the Middle East, and now I'm in Bermuda.
Oh, okay. So you're well traveled, sir. So you know a bit about climates like Bermuda's. And speaking of it, we've seen in Bermuda this summer unusually early and unusually intense heat. We've seen it reported in some of our local mediums. Temperatures were soaring to like 87 and saying it felt like 96. And I mean, I saw people just not wanting to go outside. People were saying, I will never complain about winter again, meaning Bermuda winter. But what factors are driving this shift? Like what's taking place in the climate?
The biggest thing this summer, there was a very strong ridge across the Atlantic, typically referred to as a Bermuda Azores high. It was extra strong this year, very, very strong ridge. Gave us a lot of sunshine, June, July, but also pumped those temperatures up. We were running over 2 degrees above normal for July, and we had 3 days of record highs in July. That sort of ended mid-July as the ridge started breaking down and our precipitation started coming back.
Do we expect these summer trends? And audience, if you have any questions or comments for Mr. Rogers, please send them through. Do we expect these trends to continue in years to come? I just read something interesting recently that Bermuda, until it was hit by Hurricane Emily in the 80s, we hadn't had a storm in like 7 years, or hadn't been a hurricane. But are these trends going to be the norm, or is it just a one-off?
There's cycles in the atmosphere, definitely. Some long-term, some shorter-term. Definitely in the last 20 years, there's been an increase in the frequency of tropical storms, at least near in this part of the Atlantic, near Bermuda. I'm not a climatologist, so I can't really say. I haven't run or looked at the long-term models, 50, 100 years for the evolution of the frequency of tropical cyclones, but definitely over the last 20 years, there's been some increase in the frequency in this part of the Atlantic.
Interesting. Let's talk about what Bermudians find exciting, or shouldn't, but hurricanes. Bermuda traditionally, hurricanes we were impacted by hurricanes in September and October. And as Michelle Pitcher mentioned earlier this year when she appeared, hurricanes are coming earlier. Last year, I think Bermuda was impacted by Ernesto, I think it was in August, which was a category 1. We've seen some weather as of late that has impacted Bermuda that was hurricane related. Thankfully, it went up north between Bermuda and the east coast of the United States. What is the Bermuda Weather Service tracking now, and how might early season storms influence community preparedness?
Good question. This year, the first named storm was Erin, which actually was close to the normal date of the first named storm in the Atlantic, which is around the 12th of August. But yes, Erin was a big storm, category 5 at some point when it was just down near the Bahamas, just east of the Bahamas. A weekend after that, but it was incredibly physically big storm. It generated swells that affected Bermuda 3-4 days after it passed Bermuda. There was tropical storm force winds here in Bermuda. There also was in the Carolinas. So this was a big storm, unusually big.
So with Erin being a big storm the way it was, should we, again, just trying to understand trends, should we expect that, as hurricane season moves on, it's likely that we should prepare for those kind of storms, or, it's weather, it can be unpredictable?
There's a level of unpredictability. That's why we exist as meteorologists. We're trying to give you a predictability where there's limited ability to predict. In the future, at least this year, there's still an expectation from the National Hurricane Center people that we'll have an above normal season. And each season's driven a lot by the water temperatures in the beginning of the year. And the water temperatures this year were a few degrees above normal, and they're still maintaining a few degrees above normal. So there's no reason to dissuade yourself that expectation of higher than normal is not true. It's still expected, and we're coming into the technically busiest month for hurricane development, tropical storm development in the Atlantic, which is September.
Indeed. Audience, I'm going to get to some questions now. If you have any questions or comments, you can send them through. We have one from Manuela John. She's asking, what is the effect of Saharan dust on hurricanes? Because you mentioned the temperature of the water, but you usually hear about the Saharan dust, and they're all starting off of the African coast.
Sure. The tropical storms are driven by waves that come off the African coast, and those waves are driven just by the monsoon along the coast and little waves, heavier and lighter rain. But yeah, Saharan dust, it's twofold. I read that it was somewhat delayed this year. Definitely there was a little less than expected in June, July. There's usually a little bit of some tropical storm activity, and there was a lot of Saharan dust in the upper atmosphere. There was some belief that some of that had to do with all the Saharan dust in the upper atmosphere. The other thing with Saharan dust, though, is it helps rain droplets to form. So it does help the tropical storms to form and actually then to develop. So there's a twofold. It's cutting a little bit of the sun out if there's too much of it, but it's also needed for what's called condensation nuclei to help the rain droplets form in those storms.
Mm. You mentioned the water temperatures have been above normal. For someone who's tuned in right now who doesn't know what normal water temperatures are or should be, what can you share what that is? Like, I don't know what normal water temperatures are to say that it's, extreme.
Sea surface temperature this time of year should be about 28 degrees Celsius, 84 degrees, 84.5 degrees Fahrenheit. But we're running a little bit above that. We're running about 2 degrees above that right now, 2.5 degrees above that right now. And we've had since the spring. So more like instead of 85, we're running 87, 88, 89. I've even seen one recording of 90 for the water temperature. So it's definitely above normal.
And I know you're not a climatologist, but is there anything that the general public can do? Like, what can we do? Is it something that we can do? Or is this just nature playing its course as far as the water temperatures?
Water temperatures. It's water temperatures are broad scale. The only thing that really can affect the water temperature is a good hurricane like Erin. You can see the swath in the temperature map across the Atlantic right now. There's a big swath where Erin upwelled water and cooled off, and there's a path still existing there where there's slightly cooler water in the wake of Erin. But no, people can't have any effect on the broad water temperatures across the Atlantic. It's broad long-term climate trends that will actually develop temperatures across the Atlantic.
Got it. Understood. You have a question. Not sure if you're able to answer this. Suzanne Ingham asking, do the chemtrails make the hurricanes worse? After the chemtrails, the weather gets really stupid and weird with freaky downpours or weird windy stuff or stronger hurricanes. Just my observation. And no, I'm not recording it.
I've never seen any studies of correlation between the contrails of aircraft and hurricanes, tropical storm development. The only thing I've seen is the very beginning of the COVID pandemic around the world, when there was less, temperatures did rise initially because there was less blockage of the sun around the world. But I've never seen a correlation with tropical storm formation or hurricane formation, no.
Michael Daniels is asking, are there any initiatives in process that will try to manipulate systems that produce hurricanes?
I know there was many years ago, basically cloud seeding. There was an attempt, I believe, about 40 years ago to try to cloud seed the tropical storms in the Atlantic before they actually developed. I don't think it was conclusive positive. So these are big systems with lots of energy. So once they get going, you need an incredible amount of energy to affect them.
Interesting. That's science right there. Wow. How can Bermudians? I mean, obviously you have the Bermuda Weather Service website. What do you think we need to do to stay prepared and ready? Because as you said, we're entering the traditional busy period, and it's expected to be above normal. Sometimes people rest on the laurels and like, okay, we got through that one and it's back to normal. But what do you think we need to do to stay on our toes?
It's always best to be aware. If you're checking our website, when there is one approaching, there's lots of news out there that one is approaching, but our website will give you the exact path, the closest expected approach to Bermuda, and the effects and warnings if there is anything we'll put out there on Bermuda. We're always working with the National Hurricane Center, coordinating our warnings, coordinating what's going on, and coordinating our expectations.
How can people get in touch, if they want to learn more about not just hurricanes, but just, understanding meteorology and our climate as it evolves? Like, do you guys at Bermuda Weather Service take on people to, educate them and share with them what's going on and how they can be prepared or respond to the evolving climate?
Yeah, we do. we bring in classes. Anybody that wants to come visit us for a short or a longer period of time, we're more than willing to do that. We're always promoting ourselves. We're always promoting people to move ahead in our field. It's hard to get people in our field. It's very specific, physics driven. You can always contact us by going to our website, weather.bm, and clicking on contacts or our email there.
All right. Final question from the audience. Dexter Smith is asking, what are your thoughts on Paris Agreement?
My personal thoughts on Paris Agreement. It's important for everybody to understand what's going on in climate. Like I said, I'm not really a climatologist, but we're aware of climate as meteorologists. We're more short-term, and the climatologists are long-term. It's good for it's good to have cooperation around the world in things like carbon. It's very good to cooperate, have studies, have sharing of data, so that there's true understanding of truly what's going on.
Indeed. Philip Rogers, thank you so much for joining us and engaging our audience and helping us stay ready for whatever may come next due to the unpredictability of, as known, Mother Nature. Please, if there's anything we can do to make sure that the messaging is accurate and engaged and communicated directly to our audience, please reach out and let us know. But thanks again for your time, and we'll definitely be in touch with you.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Philip Rogers, Bermuda Weather Service. Folks, do not go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break. After this break, we'll come back and we'll wrap it up. But we've got a daily play for you. And I kind of gave you the answer. It's hurricane related. Stick with us.
Considering the increasing challenges faced by financial institutions, the need for insurance protection is a critical component of the risk management framework. At Friesenbrook, our priority is to safeguard your assets with the most optimal, cost-effective risk management cover to help protect your business, whether it be cyber, directors and officer liability, professional indemnity, or property insurance. Call us on 296-3600 to learn more about our full suite of competitive corporate insurance products. At Friesenbrook, we provide insurance you can count on.
Dreaming of expanding your business? With BDC's Loan Guarantee Program, we support your ambitions. Get up to 75% guarantee on bank or credit union loans up to $300,000. Just your vision and our support. Apply today and unlock new business opportunities. BDC, Bermuda Business starts here.
Looking for the best care for your pets? Nova's Ark Feed and Supply has everything you need, from top quality foods to toys and supplies. We've got it all. Join our frequent buyer program and earn rewards every time you shop. Plus, we've been awarded the Clever Customer Initiative program for helping you save more. And don't forget, we open an hour early on Saturdays so you can get a head start on your pet care. Visit us today or shop online for easy pickup or delivery. Your pets will thank you.
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. Thanks again to Mr. Philip Rogers and the Bermuda Weather Service for stopping by for that very important community conversation. Folks, again, thank you for engaging. Thanks to the BAC group of companies, Medical House Lenders, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations on Hot 107.5. I just want to go through a few comments earlier, but after we do the daily play, which is brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, audience, let's do this. It's a remember when. Very easy question. I kind of hinted earlier. What year did Hurricane Emily hit Bermuda? Mark Arthur C. Phillips, I saw you first, 1987. Sheldon Fox also said 87. Traveling Trotty said 87. Emily Gill Dill said 1987. Richard Scott said 1987. Rosalind Famous said 1987. Dr. Anthony Richardson said 19. Everyone who answered got it correct. How about that? That's a first. No, it's not. But yeah, 1987. Now, what date in 1987? What was the date? All right. You all did well. Yeah, Hurricane Emily hit in 1987. The date was September 25th. You know, they tell me stories. They tell me stories of, no, not September 6th, Mark Arthur C. Phillips. It was September. Yeah, the 25th. 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 Yes, 25th. 25th. All right. Yeah, I was told, I've been told stories that I was hiding, like I could hide from a hurricane in the house. Um, I don't remember hiding from Mother Nature, folks. I was just probably trying to find a quiet spot. Talking about I was trying to hide between the stove and the cabinets. But anyway, that was an experience. And then from 1987 to 2003, I don't remember experiencing a direct hit from 87 to 2003 with Fabian. I know we had a hurricane. Like I think something happened in 95 or 94 to prevent the referendum, the independence referendum. But yeah, that's what I remember from there. But let's wrap it up. Give you all some daily inspiration. But as far as the conversation regarding public inquest, I know we had some comments that I didn't go through earlier regarding it, but I want to say, Michelle White said earlier, I say no for suicide regarding public inquest, but if any other situation, public should be informed, especially if an accident was caused by heart attack, would stop bad gossip too. And Mia Chambray said that I would like to know more about road accidents. We are losing our community on the roads with no explanation on accidents. So yeah, and as far as the social media, should it be banned? We've got Dr. Anthony Richardson banned for young people. He said yes, due to poor parenting. Richard Scott said responsible parenting / guardianship needed. It's difficult to legislate morality. If you outlaw the use of social media for young people, they will find something else. That's it right there. You can't legislate love and morality, folks. You just can't. But you can educate a community to do better. Suzanne Ingham said, I don't think children should be on social media, but mostly I think parents need to monitor their kids. For parents, it's extremely difficult when you're working 2 and 3 jobs. Other family, friends need to help monitor as well. Community. And Dexter Smith said, I'm in favor of banning social media for those under 16, in favor of banning those under 18 from getting driver's licenses. Both have been harmful to mental and physical health. I don't know. I get it. I just don't think law is the way to, creating laws criminalizes people. Does it really help them? I don't think criminalizing people necessarily helps. All right, folks, let me give you some daily inspiration, let you go on your way. And I hope this really hits and sticks with you. A community is only as strong as its most vulnerable. A community that works together and loves one another is bound to be stronger together. But it's important to understand that love requires accountability. All right, folks, don't forget to subscribe on our website. If you haven't already, whatever platform you may be streaming on, give us a like, love, follow, share the link with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels. Stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lenders, People's Pharmacy, and a big shout out to HSBC Bermuda for ensuring that we can pump through the radio areas with these most important community conversations. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. I'm Jamel Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are out. Peace.